is like third attempt on this, hilariously. Okay, last time my stepson was at the door downstairs and he's lost his key, so I had to go let him in because his dad hadn't left the door open. Anyhow, okay, so I wanted to talk to all of you about alchemy. Specifically, okay, and this relates to, for those of you who are already signed up and reading my Substack, I do believe even this piece was a free piece I put up, so it's not behind a paywall, about this, you will already be acquainted with this fact, but, you know, essentially this is something that needs to be spoken about. If you are someone who has experienced what you might want to call a difficult start in life and trials and tribulations throughout your life so far, it means one thing, okay? And I really want you to like take this on board. You chose a path that was going to be painful to start off with because you are here to become an alchemist. Okay? That's the truth of the matter. There is no pain that we put ourselves through on this planet that doesn't have a fucking purpose to it. Okay? I really, really want to just like triple underline that. Because in actual fact, those who are on what we call the difficult path, the ones who, like, you know, me, for example, okay, the entire reason why you maybe came in and ended up with parents who have been maybe less than ideal, and situations in your earlier life that were less than ideal, is because in actual fact what you were doing was you were creating the fuel to actually be able to transmute as you come into your power and understanding of who you truly are. And if you hadn't had those experiences, you would have nothing to transmute. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So if you in any way, shape or form consider yourself as someone who is on a path of awakening, you know, you're here in some kind of capacity, and, you know, you might want to call it ascension or give it some other name, it doesn't really matter. And you have had this understanding that there's a lot more to life than the whole kind of go to university, get married, have 2.4 kids, like eat, sleep, shit, fucking make money and pay taxes and die. You know, if you're beyond, if you've been going beyond that understanding and you've been experiencing a lot of shit in your life up to this point, it is simply because in actual fact, at the core level, you are way more powerful than you think. And in actual fact, in this lifetime, you literally chose to come in and become an alchemist. And if you're not experiencing the shifts yet, it's because you haven't fully embraced this actual kind of, what I'm going to say, soul-led reality that is wanting you to claim it, and is wanting you to kind of stop doing the thing where you go into what I'm going to call the eternal victim stance, and actually start realizing that the pain, all the pain that you have experienced in your life so far, has a divine fucking purpose. Okay? It has a divine purpose. You are here as a code breaker. You know, I've said this before, saying this in the podcast the other day about being the black sheep is a blessing, not a curse. Okay, as if you've experienced a lot of pain in your life so far and you have an awareness that you want to change it, you are here as a code breaker. And part of being a code breaker is being an alchemist. And part of being an alchemist is transmuting pain. So you have to have the pain in order to be able to transmute it. Do you see what I'm saying? Basically. There's no other way about it, okay? You are not here to do your run-of-the-mill stuff. You are here to step into your power. You might still be avoiding that. You might still be wanting to cast blame out to everyone else, and you might not be ready to take ownership, like I suspect if you're watching this that you are actually at the point now of going, I've had enough of this. I want change, you know. Why else would you be watching a video with the title Magic and Alchemy and all that jazz? Okay. Your curiosity is obviously greater than your fear at this point, which is why you're watching this now, right? But essentially, I'm going to say right now, we don't go through all the trials and tribulations in life if we're not supposed to do something with them. Okay? And if you choose not to embrace the truth of the fact you're supposed to be here as an alchemist, that's actually what your soul wanted for you, and what your soul's been trying to nudge you towards, that you've probably been running away from, and probably been saying, oh, I don't have the time, oh, it's too much like hard work, I'm just going to bury my head in this, that, or the other instead, okay? Then you will end up, you will continue to go around in circles, or you will find yourself sort of doing that thing where, you know, and I see this with people all the time. I saw it with myself, you know. I've had periods in life where I've had like a great time, lots of fun, yada yada, make good money, but in actual fact I knew deep down inside that there was something further that was calling me, that I was like shoving to one side. And in actual fact, what was required of me was to actually go, I'm not here to just settle for coasting along in a sort of status quo that's sort of comfortable. I'm here for expansion. I'm here to own my power. Like, and you'll have the clues. You always have the clues when you're being kicked up the butt by your own soul. That's what happens, essentially. So, yes, it's one of these things, like, rather than going, oh, woe is me, life is difficult, and all that kind of stuff that people have a tendency to do when, like, they've experienced a lot of shit, you really have to actually kind of step back and take that perspective, that higher perspective, and go, right, what is the purpose of all of this? What is the purpose of all of this? Like, what purpose is this serving? If everything is always working for me, which it is, okay, if the universe is always, always, always working for me and trying to show me what is going on with me, then this has a purpose. What is the purpose? And you can actually do this, like, if you don't believe me about the alchemy stuff, just tune in, put your hand on your heart. Both hands on your heart. Put both hands on your heart, close your eyes and say, okay, all of these things, all of these painful things, like, that on a human level I haven't enjoyed at all, that I've experienced in my life, all of these things that have really pissed me off and, you know, felt traumatic, and all of the other things, you know, all of the stuff, all of the emotional stuff I've experienced, all of the things that felt painful and difficult. If I pan back and look at it from like a higher perspective, what are these things trying to tell me about why I'm really here? And just see what answer comes through. Allow, you know, and I'm not talking about the voice of the inner critic, I'm talking about what's the quiet voice that comes through when you ask this question that actually feels like truth and encouragement. And truth and encouragement will always feel light, even if it's a little bit of a slap round the chops from the point of view of you start to look at it from like, oh God, well, I feel like I just told myself off on some level for being a numpty up till now and not realizing this. Okay, but there'll be some part of you that's like, this feels light. This feels like light at the end of the tunnel, rather than like, you know, the inner critic, everything, like, when you try to differentiate between the voice of the inner critic and the voice of your soul, your inner critic will always feel like doom and gloom and I'm not enough and yada yada yada, all of that stuff. Okay, the voice of your soul, when it speaks, may feel a little bit like, oh, finally you're listening, kind of thing. Finally, you're asking me. Finally, you're paying attention. But it will always feel uplifting. It will always feel light. It will always feel on some level like relief, like, you know, realization dawning, like the light at the end of the tunnel, that kind of epiphany moment. Okay. And that is one of the most important things, I think, when you're looking at kind of that whole thing of starting to tap into your intuition and like, what's my inner being trying to tell me? The difference between the inner being and the inner critic is that the inner critic will always criticize, whereas the inner being will always be waving a little flag going, over here, look, here's respite, here's relief. Here is that like ding light bulb moment. Okay. And yes, it's ultimately, there are a lot of people, I mean, this is something I see all the time, people who have a lot of inherent magic, but they're not claiming it for themselves, or they're sort of semi-claiming it, but they're like, they do that thing, you know, we've all been there, where you push it out and you use it for everyone else all the time, but because you basically you have like the deep-seated self-worth issues going on that you haven't dealt with yet, what happens is that you're always trying to help everyone else with it and you think you're being in service, but in actual fact you've got to, what you're not doing is filling up your own cup first, which is sorting yourself out before you're trying to farm it out to everyone else. See what I'm saying? Basically, that whole thing of I can use my gifts for everyone else, but I'm not allowed to use them for myself, which is incidentally another nonsense that I have seen bandied around in the, let's say, spiritual / magical communities. The whole kind of thing of martyrdom, spiritual martyrdom. It's a big thing. Hello, who's watching? I see a person. Introduce yourself. Is it someone I know? But yeah, magic, alchemy, it's part of who you are. Most of the humans on this planet can't remember how to use theirs. Biggest clue that you have that it's part of your path for this lifetime is that you've probably experienced quite a lot of shit up to this point, and probably some absolute what the fuck moments, you know. Don't get me wrong on this. I find the people who actually have like the biggest sort of, what I'm going to call magical destiny, are usually the ones who've had the biggest what the fuck moments on the way. Like the stupid stuff that, you know, if you wrote it down and put it in a book, people wouldn't believe it was real life. They'd think it was some kind of crazy novel written about espionage or whatever, you know, and mad shit. Okay. The kind of, you know, adventure, but like, huh? Why? I don't understand kind of stuff. Like, you know, big drama, all of that kind of, the big dramas, the stuff that kind of literally, like, people look at you and their jaw hits the floor when you tell them about it, because they don't actually believe that that actually could happen to a person in real life, because their range of experience when you're talking to them doesn't include that kind of stuff, you know, basically. These things, they are a surefire sign that you are here to be an alchemist. And if you're watching this video, the chances are you haven't claimed it for yourself yet. Basically. So yeah, this is primarily what I want to talk about today, or what I am talking. I say what I want to talk about, I am talking about it. Because I think it's really, really important for us to understand, like, there is nothing that is not working for you when it comes to the grand scheme of things. The only time things don't work for you is when you just are pig-headed and you refuse to listen, you refuse to take the steps because you're allowing your fear to stop you. You're allowing your fear to stop you from going down the path that your soul's like there with the semaphore signalling at, going, this way, come on, like this. Basically, those things. You didn't come here to have like a one-note existence. And for alchemists particularly, you know, anyone who's an alchemist is going to have a really hard time with trying to just sort of like hold down something steady and dependable and la-da-da-da-da, because in actual fact, at soul, At the heart of your soul, you have power and you have a love of adventure. And, you know, what that's translated into so far is like all sorts of hair-raising shit that will make a really good autobiography at some point, but has, like I said, the what the fuck moments where has left you at times being absolutely despairing, thinking, Christ, why does everything always go so dramatically wrong? That's basically what I'm going to call sort of where we've been conditioned, and you know, this is part of the pain thing, like where all of the conditioning we've had has told us that we should avoid pain, but in actual fact we end up creating it for ourselves because we've been conditioned to think that we're less than worthy or whatever by nearly everything that happens on the point up to the point where we decide to like fully grasp why we're here and run with it, basically. And it requires courage. Like moving forwards on the path of the alchemist requires courage. It's not something for the faint-hearted. It's, I would say, frankly, right here, right now, we all have our sort of core soul frequencies. Those of us who are here to do alchemy, etc., in this lifetime will find that we are, you know, and I speak from my own experience here, we are not satisfied with just getting by and doing mediocrity in any way, shape or form. Like, we tend to crave adventure. We'll create it in all sorts of topsy-turvy ways, but all of us have power as a core frequency. All of us have freedom or a desire for freedom in there somewhere, and most of us have had interesting upbringings, put it that way. And yeah, it's what I will say right now is, like, I know that like a big part of my thing as an alchemist is actually mentoring other people in alchemical stuff, okay? And that includes a great deal of play, as far as I'm concerned, because there is no point in doing anything that is not playful, joyful, and feels good, you know, especially if you've had like a lifetime where there's been a lot of stuff that's felt really painful and really awful and all the rest of it. You know, you don't want to then put yourself through a training which also feels like pulling fucking teeth, do you? Let's face it. So yes, I just want to sort of say right now that two things I've set up. Okay, so both zones, okay, I've got a thing about zones at the moment. So what used to be the Quantum Creation Mastermind is now called the Magic Zone. I want to invite anyone who's watching this who is resonating with what I'm saying. If you're watching this and you're resonating with what I'm saying and you are ready to actually start taking some steps down this path properly, okay, you can go to the link tree underneath this video and click on that, and there's a button on there for the Magic Zone, and there's also another button on there for the Genius Zone. Now, the Genius Zone isn't an alchemical mentorship. It is for people who understand that they want to alchemize what's going on in terms of their purpose work and business stuff and all the rest of it, and they want to create movement. It contains Akashic Reboot 10. It contains Money Magnate. It contains the Shift 12-strand DNA activation, which is a massively powerful thing that I put together. It's a group program that was in its own right. I've amalgamated three together, and I've also added in 2 new protocols, incredibly powerful ones. There's one that it's literally the culmination of all of my work up to this point. It's called The Magic. And there's also another one called Manifesting Money Magic. Okay, so they're in there as well. So that's a whole bundle that's set up basically. And there's a payment plan available. And there's also a Telegram group and channel set up for this, so that essentially there is a central hub point for everyone who does this course to connect, and there's not going to be any time frame on that hub. Okay, it's going to be an ongoing thing for anyone who signs up for it, so that you have a connection point to other people of like mind who are on a similar path to you, so that you can feel like you can connect with and communicate with each other, as well as ask me questions and all the rest of it. I will just drop in right now, that is not, it's not an alchemical mentorship. The mentorship is in the magic zone only. This is where I basically, I was going to say I alchemy people in mentorship. No, I mentor people in alchemy. I mentor people in alchemy, essentially. So the work that I produce, that's where you get to actually see what goes into all of my outputs. Okay, it's where I teach what I do, and also encourage the members to play around with their own stuff, and also offer support and guidance and encouragement. Again, there's a Telegram group, and it's also where we basically share what we're creating in a really powerful way. So it's somewhere, it's a safe space for people to develop their voice and actually claim what they're creating properly. So yes, I want to say right now, if either of these is calling to you, you can check all of that out on the link tree underneath this video. I realized, I haven't really come on here and talked about these things, and it's time. It's time, because I see a lot of people out in the world having a really hard time at the moment and not understanding the purpose of any of it. And, I'm here to let you know that if you've had a hard, what's felt like a hard life up to now, lots of drama, lots of trauma, all of that kind of stuff, there's a reason for it. And the reason wasn't just to kick you when you're down and all of that stuff. It's because you're here as an alchemist, and it's time for you to learn how. Okay? It's time for you to learn how. It's time for you to claim your power. It's time for you to really create the transformation in your life that you've been longing for and haven't managed to succeed with properly so far. Or you've maybe managed bits, but you found everything a bit hit and miss, and you sort of ended up being one of these people that goes, oh, well, it's obviously not meant for me. I'll say right now, if you have a desire, it is meant for you. If you have a desire, it is meant for you. I will always add in the proviso, provided it's, I'm going to say, like, between consenting adults with harm to none. Like, I do, that's a benchmark of, like, if you have a desire that causes harm to no one, it is meant for you. Including your desire to be a multi-millionaire. If you desire to be a multi-millionaire, that is meant for you. And for the people who go, oh, but if I'm a multi-millionaire, other people lose out. No, let go of the limited view of money. You're not understanding. You need to understand the energy of what money actually is. There's a lot of misunderstanding on this planet about this. Money is an infinite, renewable resource. Money is divine in nature. It is not limited. Your thinking about it is, but it is not limited. When you think of it in a limited way, and your emotional makeup around it is constricted, then of course you experience limitation in money. It's as simple as that, but you can change that. And it starts with the feeling, and then it moves into the actual realms of, like, what you're experiencing. If you feel constriction around money, it's just telling you that your belief systems and structures and the energies that you are holding around money in relationship to it are not serving you. Okay? And people a lot of the time get caught in this and then end up using money as an excuse not to fucking move forwards in life, and actually end up just spinning their wheels and doing Groundhog Day over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then wondering why nothing changes. And that is also, part of the whole thing of becoming an alchemist, is actually understanding this and understanding how to lift yourself out of it when it happens. Okay, rather than caving into it, rather than constricting, rather than shrinking, rather than like shrinking yourself down to the size of a kernel or whatever. Okay, you're here to be an oak tree, not just a seed. Do you see? So, having said all of this, I'm going to love and leave you all now. Do check out the links in the link tree underneath this video. Okay, The invitation to anyone who feels called is open to come and join either the Magic Zone or the Genius Zone. I've also got another thing, if you're feeling really constricted about money, called the Money Zone. And there's a link for that too, I do believe. I think there is. Okay, and that's run as a sort of live mini, it's like a, not a challenge as such, but it's a mini course that's focused and zoned in on money, okay? $37. So if you want to take baby steps before you're ready to take the bigger ones, then the invitation is there for that too. Okay? Right. Mwah. Love to all of you. I'll see you all soon. Hopefully I'll see some of you in the Magic Zone or the Genius Zone or the Money Zone. Mwah. Bye for now.